All right, welcome everybody to another edition of Late Night on Chain. I'm your friend, your host, your confidant again, who needs a haircut. My goodness, my hair is out of control. The brown Elvis Presley, they call me. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but hopefully it's a good thing. I do need a haircut, but I'm so locked in on the trenches that I don't have time for any of that. I'm locked in on the trenches. I'm locked in talking to amazing guests because that is what this space needs. Distribution is only becoming more and more difficult. There's so many builders out there, so many amazing projects, but if we don't know the stories, if we don't know what they're doing, if we just don't know, how will we ever discover them? That is why we do the show Late Night on Chain. Anyways, very excited for today's guest. We got Austin from 00. We got Saunder from Fire, and we got Rips from BSTONK. And so basically, the focus of this show, obviously 00 is Wall Street Infra. The other two projects are RWAs. RWAs are going to be kind of, in my opinion, the narrative to drive a lot of retail interest, especially first time ever you're bringing RWAs on chain. People can speculate, people can trade. There's just so much innovation happening across every chain, actually. Robinhood, Base, Solana. Solana has that now too. So really important to talk these things. We'll have Austin up in a second, but I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. That's the only way this show, can have the lights on, have this cool neon sign on. Starting off, Easy A Kickstart. Easy A Kickstart is the infra that allows you to build and launch your project, AI or whatever in tech on Solana. I think they also started on Robinhood. Please check them out. Also, we got three of our supporting sponsors. We got Banker. They provide the agentic tooling of all AI agents on Base. Most people know about them. Launch your own project. But they also provide, meme speculation on Sushi on Robinhood. So they do it all. Shout out to them. And we got Buildify. They are a launch pad that are multi-chain, allowing different abilities to launch your project and whatnot in different ways. And then Launchpad game is very difficult, by the way, but I shout out to them. They have no token. They just want to build. And DTF Finance is truly just a RWA project, but they are market makers. So they don't just rely on trading fees. They allow you to take a portion, put into the market making, allow them to generate yield interest to reinvest in the project. So check them out. All right. So why don't we just get to it? Why don't we just bring up the man, the myth, the legend, Austin from 00. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing well. How about you?
I can't complain. I got my coffee. I always joke it's late night somewhere in the world, just not on my show. It's literally midday.
Yeah, there
I'm
you
out
go.
here in California, but I'm doing well. Austin, all right. Let's chat, man, 00, because you have a very interesting project in terms of the Wall Street infra. Why don't you just start with the beginning? What exactly is 00 aiming to do?
Yeah, so high level, we are looking to do for high performance connectivity the same thing that the cloud did for compute. And, people sort of forget like before the cloud advent happened, you couldn't really just go to a website, put in a credit card, and get compute. You had to call someone up, you had to send in an order form. It would take a few days to get everything provisioned. If you wanted a bunch of servers, it might take a few months to get everything provisioned. And then you had to manage all of those actual individual computers. And today, with the advent of the cloud, you don't have to do that anymore. Startups could just go to AWS or GCP or Azure and buy compute. The world for global connectivity, especially connectivity faster than the public internet, is still sort of in that pre-cloud revolution. It's still a very manual, slow, it can take months to get additional circuits provisioned. And so the whole vision of 00 is to create a global fiber network of the same tier that a high frequency trading firm would use that goes faster than the public internet and is open and accessible and runs on modern technologies like smart contracts and automatic provisioning, and really allows anyone anywhere in the world to tap into this high performance network for whatever they're building.
What exactly is entailed to build something of such caliber? Obviously, and in this case, I assume there's a huge moat because what you're proposing is something that not just like an 18-year-old basement dweller using ChatGPT can make it. But what exactly does it entail to build infra of this caliber to execute your vision? What's involved?
Yeah, physical infrastructure is one of the last real moats because you can't just replace it with software. If you don't have the GPUs in your data center, you can't offer them. If you don't have the fiber connectivity, you simply can't get connectivity there. And so Double Zero is the only fiber network in the world, at least the one that we're aware of, that has multiple independent contributors and is also a high performance network. And so under the hood, it operates very similar to how a blockchain would operate, in that there are multiple independent entities and companies that are providing the actual core fiber infrastructure. Sometimes it's fiber they own, sometimes it's fiber they lease, sometimes it's fiber that is the second fastest and they've just upgraded to the fastest, but they still have remainder time on their leases. And so that's really the whole vision and use of the network. And so we have several different products and services built on top of it. One is Double Zero Edge, which offers fast market data feeds for every instrument trading on Kalshi, and also the entire Solana blockchain as well. And we're adding more additional feeds sort of every month to that package of products. But the core thing here is just the public internet was never built for what we're asking it to do today, which is like high performance next generation finance.
Interesting. So, next generation high performance finance, how does it relate? Let's talk Kalshi, for instance, prediction markets. How does the Kalshi benefit, I guess, from this real time data
Yeah.
that Double Zero provides?
So, in the case of Kalshi, it's their data, right? The data is generated from the Kalshi matching engine and the Kalshi trading systems, but getting that out to users is actually a pretty slow process. Most of it goes through something called WebSockets today, and this is the way, like if you open your phone and it pulls in the latest messages from Slack for work or something like
Mhm.
that. It's going through that type of a process, which is fine for a bunch of core Web 2 technology, but what it means is that people get the data at different times and there's latency involved in when they get that data. And so if you are trying to trade on a prediction market, you're trying to make predictions or, make like figure out if something's in the money or you want to place an order or something like that, getting the fastest data feed available is going to give you performance advantages over people that you are trading against. And so for Kalshi, the desirability of having this low latency data feed suitable for institutional finance is really all about making the Kalshi platform a more attractive platform to trade on. That if traders can get more complete information about what's going on a market that they want to trade on, they feel more confident actually placing that trade.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Obviously, data is oil. It's the most valuable thing, the fastest, the most reliable, gives an edge, and they expect that, especially when the caliber of Kalshi. How did that whole so, like, for instance, because it's generally curious when you come to talk to people of your caliber and working with people like that, how does it work, though? When you are typically projects like Kalshi coming to you? Do you have something where it's just like, you know what you have, you have to go to them? How does, like, a relationship work? Because I find it fascinating, I'm sure our viewers will too, with Kalshi. With a caliber of project like Kalshi, how does that symbiotic relationship begin?
Yeah, at this point, we are mostly pitching folks like Kalshi on, hey, we can actually do this and solve this big problem you have and service traders more efficiently. We have smaller projects that come to us all the time, and we're super excited to work with them as well. But a company of the scale of Kalshi, we're approaching them, and it's usually in sort of through the folks who work on liquidity and capital markets and
Mhm.
institutional finance, because there's sort of this big divide right now in this whole category of new finance, where a lot of the people who work at centralized crypto exchanges, they really don't know how this stuff works under the hood. And there's a lot traditional finance has gotten wrong, but one of the things it got right is this focus on extremely high performant infrastructure for traders. And today, if you're trading on a centralized exchange, for the most part, that data is pretty incomplete and pretty slow. And so, one of the main things that we see is we see traders going to exchanges and saying, "Hey, we would really like Double Zero. Can you look at supporting them?" And at the same time, then we find the people at these organizations that are receptive to this message of like, "Hey, you came from traditional space. You know how important fast data feeds are. Would you like to work with us on bringing that to Kalshi or to whatever exchange we happen to be talking to?"
Where's your overall thesis then on trading? I assume, especially in today's world, I assume you're taking a big bet that trading focused apps, trading focused is going to be needed for the data is going to be needed in that you see in crypto, especially you have social trading, rise of FOMO, you have pump fund. That's like kind of like the new thing, social integration.
Yeah.
Overall, your thesis on trading, retail trading like Kalshi or whatnot. What's your hypothesis? Is it going to get only more and more demand? Therefore, the data is going to be more and more demand. What's your overall thesis on trading in general in 2026 and beyond?
Yeah, the crypto markets and new finance markets are still quite messy. And they're messy for a few reasons. One is the data quality is very low. And we saw this on 1010 at the flash crash that uh, markets were very poorly arbed. Market makers lost confidence that they were actually getting up to date information from exchanges. And so they, kind of stopped making markets. And we actually saw on chain markets perform pretty well relative to traditional markets. But even on chain markets, there was questions about could we get the data we need and do we still understand what the pricing on Binance is or the pricing on Coinbase is, those sorts of things. But when we look at trading long term, like the other messiness we have is we have a lot of structures in crypto markets that would not be allowed in traditional markets. So NYSE and Nasdaq are not allowed to be market makers on their own exchanges.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that happens in crypto today, and so I think from a retail trading perspective, as we start to disintermediate these things, and you actually see some proposals from the CFTC around this, in their rulemaking process already, there's this idea that like, hey, the market making desk can't be the same as the exchange desk, and we need to have a firewall between these two things. I think that's going to be a net good for crypto and for new finance in general. At the same time, that is a huge area where data movement starts to matter even more because you don't have these sort of privileged internal operators that are able to take flow at discretion. You need this very healthy, robust, competitive ecosystem. And so I'm not sure how familiar you are or your listeners are with Reg NMS, which governs sort of market structure in the equities world. But like a lot of this stuff is probably coming to new finance in pretty short order, which is sort of a net good. Like there's a lot of problems in traditional finance, but fairness is not really one of them. They're actually the markets are quite fair. Access is you have to pay a lot for access, but access is sort of an equalized process here. And so I think as we sort of look forwards, like it actually will be a net good for all this category of new finance to adopt some of the more sort of rules and standards of the traditional financial world. And I think Double Zero is a big player in enforcing that fairness.
Yeah, I mean, fairness is everything. Clarity is critical for the growth of the industry. So, okay, so we have the Kalshi side of things, prediction markets. Data is very useful, needed actually for the highest optimal traders to bet on. Now, let's put the focus then on say other ecosystems. You're talking about Solana. You're providing infrastructure for people on Solana. How does that work? If you're not because I want our audience to be kind of curious as to the different applications provided from you guys as to how Double Zero can be integrated in different things. So when we come to like Solana, for instance, are we talking about price feeds on different like what exactly is the pitch to either builders on Solana or the
Yeah.
Solana Foundation? How does that work with Double Zero?
Yeah, so there's sort of two ways to think about this. So one of them is if you are a blockchain network that's trying to differentiate yourself on performance, the public internet is not. I mean, none of traditional finance runs on the public internet for a reason. Like it's a great resource, but it's cost optimized, not performance optimized. And so we can do a huge amount with technologies like multicast that simply can't be done on the public internet. Turbine on Solana and RaptorCast on Monad, these are great ways to solve some of the problems of the public internet, but they don't really get you that far relative to what you get on private networks like Double Zero. And so there's a pitch to foundations to say, hey, you really should consider like if you want to integrate Double Zero as core infrastructure into like your protocol design. And then you look at traders and you sort of say, even if that's not something that's going to happen at the core protocol level, there's a huge amount of benefit to sourcing data from Double Zero and running trade systems on Double Zero because it's simply more performant and that will help you achieve your goals from a trading perspective as well.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, I think it's a fascinating concept because the way as you're saying, there's the public internet. Most people, and shout out to we have about 490 people live tuning in live late night on chain with Austin from Double Zero guys. By the end of the show, we need at least 2K per stream. That is my rule. Otherwise, I'm considered failure in my mom's eyes. I do not want that. We're on a good streak. Um, good differentiating factor because even to myself, I sometimes because I don't really come from the financial world, right? I have in the real world, I have like a law degree, but never, and then I somehow ended up in this industry being a host. But financial stuff, I have never really dived in. So I think most people tuning in don't understand the concept that there's the public blockchain and then there's a private blockchain or private internet. Sorry, public internet, private internet, and typically things run on public internet. You're not going to get the same results as the private internet, which is what Double Zero provides. Correct?
Yeah, exactly. So if you're running on like the public internet is really optimized for reach and it does a
Yeah.
really good job on that. So like for example, if you look at how your data moves from like New York to San Francisco, it's not going from New York to San Francisco. It's bouncing all around the eastern seaboard, it's probably bouncing all around the Midwest and eventually it's making its way over to like San Francisco and that works for 99% of the use cases of data over the public internet. If you're watching a video, it doesn't really matter. If you're on a Zoom call, human reaction times are pretty slow, relatively speaking. And so we don't notice these things as sort of interruptions or maybe if you're on a phone call with someone in Turkey or a Zoom, you can notice a little bit of lag because it's physically further and the routing is even worse. But for the most part, what we're talking about is like machine to machine interactions that really, really need that low latency. And so on Double Zero, if you're communicating from, let's say, like Chicago to Tokyo, your
Yeah.
data's got like 2 or 3 hops involved. If it's going over the public internet, it may be 30 plus.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, okay. One of the things I want to bring up is the website you guys have made it public, so I wanted to bring it up, and I feel it's definitely over my head. So I would love to know how this works. All right. So say we go to data.doublezero.xyz,
Yes.
and I see a bunch of things that I have no idea. You have an issue, just like Austin. You got to tell your tech team, hey, a link's down. Don't know what that means.
Links are down all the time. That's the
What
beauty.
exactly are we looking at? What exactly so say
Yeah.
I'm a person, maybe I'm interested in integrating Double Zero, I don't know, and I come on this site. What are we looking at?
So you are looking at something that no other like internet service or private network will give you, which is full telemetry and information of what's actually going on the network in real time. And so you can see there sort of all of the different fiber links that are involved in the Double Zero network, who's contributing them. And to that point, fiber links go down all the time, right? The,
Yeah.
the the sort of idea that like, oh, the internet's always perfect and is like always online is not true at all. There's outages of cables and things get routed around all the time. That's our job as the Double Zero network to make sure that those don't interrupt people or something along those lines. But the beauty of this is you can actually go in and see the exact performance of every single piece of fiber in the Double Zero network. There's a tool where you calculate the latency between different places. If you look at the performance section, you can see how much faster Double Zero is than other systems like the public internet that are out there. And so all of that performance data is visible and verifiable on chain, and that's something that you really don't get from any other type of networking system. So that level of transparency and verifiability comes from the heart of crypto.
I see. I see. So let me ask you this, Austin, because one of the things that we like to do on this show that I think is pretty important is get to know the person behind it, whether it's the CEO, the founder, whatever. Because, it's important to understand the reasons why, because and especially in your case, building Double Zero, running it is not an easy task, but obviously you believe in the mission enough to decide this is what you want to focus on at this stage of your life, even though there's tons of other options I'm sure you're absolutely qualified for. So my question to you, Austin, is simply why are you so passionate about building Double Zero? What is it about this project that makes you feel the need to get up every single day to make this core infra for retail and Wall Street?
Yeah, one of the things that I've always been very passionate about is that systems are often limited by their low level infrastructure capacity. And you see this really clearly in something like SpaceX, where in order to like actually get stuff to orbit, and there's all of this stuff you can look at and say, if we're going to try and colonize Mars, like there's a bunch of other stuff you need to do. But the first thing you have to do is actually build rockets that are capable of launching things cheaply into orbit and reliably. And we didn't have that at the beginning. And so you can have these big grand visions of the world that you would like to see, but like what is the number one problem preventing AI infrastructure from or not AI infrastructure, AI companies from going faster? Not enough electricity.
Yeah.
And it's like if you really want to solve the core problem, there's so many smart people in new finance and in crypto that are working on exotic market structures, new ways of doing smart contract security, prediction markets, all like new strategies for how do we do tokenization, all that stuff. And that's awesome. People should keep doing that. I'm we need that stuff to really take off. There's almost no one thinking about the low level infrastructure. And that low level infrastructure is going to be the biggest bottleneck and biggest limiting factor on the long term growth of crypto and new finance and its ability to pull away trading from traditional markets. We have seen Hyperliquid have a ton of success in this, but it's still, a tiny, tiny fraction of global traditional trading. And so, we look at these areas and say, like, okay, like crypto's here to stay, new finance is here to stay. Can we make it actually competitive? And so that was one of the main visions behind starting Double Zero was that we really need this to exist to really allow the rest of the industry to get to where we think it needs to go.
Is there any specific project, protocol, infra, blockchain, anything that you would feel is an ideal candidate to utilize Double Zero's technology? Is there any specific type of uh, project, I guess, that comes to
Yeah.
my mind that you think it would benefit greatly?
Anything that has a competitive information space. So this is why trading is such a great use for Double Zero because one wins, one loses, right? There's always an outcome to trading of if I want to buy Bitcoin at the current price, someone else might buy it before me, right? And so all of this focused around trading is for competitive activities. So that's kind of like the guiding star there. The other one is fast systems. So if you look at something like Bitcoin, there's no use for Bitcoin on Double Zero. It's a very
Yeah.
small amount of data. The blocks are very slow. Bitcoin is very good at doing the thing it's trying to do, but Bitcoin's not competitive. There's no DeFi on Bitcoin. There's no trading on Bitcoin. All that trading happens elsewhere. And so any market where information moves quickly and markets move quickly and traders want to trade, those are areas that we want to service.
Interesting. All right. So, Austin, we have a few more minutes, and I want to picture this. It is 1 year from now, 2027 August. What's the North Star for Double Zero? What is that goal you want to achieve? What is the KPI, the metrics, anything you can say? What exactly
Yeah.
would you love to envision Double Zero at
So a
that
lot
point?
of what we're working on now is expanding the number of data sources connected into the Double Zero network. So one of the main uses of the network today is to get traders complete and faster information about what's going on. This is called layer and level 3 data, which is basically like the full side, the plus and minus of a book, all the bids for buying, all the bids for selling. And so one of the main things we're working on now is getting more and more markets plugged into that, more and more centralized exchanges, more decentralized exchanges as well, and to sort of be that one place that you come to if you want up to the millisecond book data on any major trading venue for any type of new finance asset, whether that is the big boys like Binance or whether that is like smaller upstart DeFi applications.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Austin, any last words? We have 1,400 plus people tuning in. I think we're going to have at least 2,000 by the end of the show. I was relieved, Austin. I was absolutely relieved.
There you go.
Any last words, man, before the audience tuning in about Double Zero?
Yeah, I would say if you're a trader on, Solana or Kalshi, you should definitely check out Double Zero. It's the fastest way to get data on those markets. And then, if you work at a centralized exchange, we'd love to chat. We're always talking with new folks about opening up new types of data feeds. And yeah, would love to get you onboarded to Double Zero Edge.
Amazing, Austin. We'll make sure our team has a few clips for you from this show. We'll tag you. We'll send it your way. And my friend, I really enjoyed our conversation, and I hope to continue it. Anytime you have any updates, please let me know. I would love to have you back on.
Absolutely. Appreciate
All
it.
right. Cheers, Austin. All right, that is Austin from Double Zero. It's always great to talk to. We talk trenches, we talk crypto core company or crypto focused protocols, whatever. But it's always great to get the minds of people who are building real infra that is used by Wall Street, used by juggernauts like Kalshi. These are the type of conversations we like to have on this space, on this show. It's not just the trenches. I always appreciate these type of things because this is the stuff that knowledge is power. And if you're building something and you have a moat like they do, chances are you're going to do pretty well because the moat is everything in this space. You got to have a moat because building's the easiest thing. The moat could either be, whether it's the actual product or the founder himself. The founder could be a moat. People believe in a founder. Our next guest, Sonder from Fire, people believe in Sonder. And I think you have to have some sort of differentiating factor in your project going forward. So I digress. Anyways, all right. Let's just continue the show, baby. Let's continue the show. Today we have 3 guests. So therefore, let's keep them going. Let's bring up a guy who was early on Robinhood, actually. I actually followed him, his initial calls. This guy literally crushed the first wave, Cash Cat wave. And I remember the, what is it? That little theorem that you predicted the Cash Cat thing, man. Sonder, the one and only Sonder. How you doing, sir?
Hey, how's it going? I'm doing well.
What was that thing that you predicted? It was like the Pythagorean theorem or something. Like you Cash Cat went to it literally hit your target.
Yeah, I was just shitposting. It's just a Pythagorean theorem. I mean, obviously, it's not
I know.
based in reality, but it was funny because I feel like a lot of times both posting, you just have to have fun with it. And I do feel like, especially with that specific first wave, it was just an echo of base. It was an echo of all the other ecosystems. And so if you had the pattern recognition or the experience of a previous chain and how the first innings are, then you're just kind of looking for the same sort of players to pop up and then make some bets. Obviously, it doesn't always pan out the way that you hope it does, just because there's I think the mid curve take originally when I was first just going all in on it was, oh, it's just another chain. What's the deal with this? How many chains are there? There's thousands of chains.
Sure.
The difference was just the capacity of Robinhood as a company, as an app, what they had behind them. And so you really had to separate that from trying to ask why it wouldn't work, but why it would work. And then if you're early enough, it's always better to take a gamble. Obviously, you don't go all in, as in, you don't throw all your eggs into it. But
Sure.
the thing I always find about especially with these asymmetric trades where you can be early, is that the earlier you are, the less capital you need. So you can bridge over a very small amount of capital. And that's, if you look at a lot of the top traders on CashCat, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. No, I definitely mid curved it. It's so funny. Like I was like the same way before. I was like, before obviously Cash Cat ran, I was just like, who the fuck needs Robinhood? Who needs another chain? It's like number 500. Joke's on me, but now you live and you learn and you catch generational entry. So good for that. But we're not here to talk about just the general state of Robinhood. I want to talk about Fire. And it's interesting because I had you on my show. Actually, when I first started this specific show, which is the Monday through Thursday show and going all into media, you were one of my first earlier guests. And you built Fire at that time on base. And since then, you have, in my opinion, done the right thing, moving it to Robinhood. And I think you had a migration or something, and now you're on Robinhood. Talk to me about that decision first and foremost. Why did you go from base to Robinhood?
Yeah, I think the biggest reason was the tokenization of stocks, which I felt was a huge differentiator. They were the first ones to do it at the time, but since then, Binance Chain and Solana have jumped on board. Even Base has it now. But I think it was a few learning lessons from me with Fire on Base was just that the protocol itself was flawed in that paying out currency. I mean, the thing is, paying out currency of the native token has always been the way that a lot of coins have done it. But because it's been done for so long, I believe that the game is solved. So if you are getting Fire tokens or any sort of native token for holding a coin, you're going to just sell it, right? And even if there's an incentive for you to hold, I think for the most part, people just want to sell rewards. And so with the tokenized stocks, one, you also had an unsolved game that came on because people really like it's not really truly innovative, but it just adds an extra layer into this equation that you have, and that's what's happening a lot in terms of the coins that do well. An example of this, I was just gonna quickly bring up. One of my friends was talking about how, like, the reason a lot of these Binance chain tickers are like really going up in the way that they are. Part of it is that it's still a lot of Western capital who are making speculatory bets on what the Chinese will like. The problem with what happened with the conventional retail speculation, where a lot of people are like, hey, retail is going to buy this, is that it hasn't panned out that well because overall, a lot of crypto native capital is driving that based on speculation of retail. Now, because we don't know who is actually Chinese, and we have a lot of these Western Twitter accounts now that are just tweeting in Chinese at the Chinese, and they're like, "Hey, do you guys like this?" But they're all speaking in Chinese, right? And I think when you just add an extra layer of the unknown to a narrative or to a meta, then you just have so much more speculation on, okay, well, what is the ceiling on this? So in that, we were one of the first tokenized stocks uh, protocols to launch on Robinhood, so it was still early at that point. I believe we launched around the same time as Stockbroker. Obviously, those guys did a great job. Fire is very different. We're not building infra. We're not building a launch pad. We're not building incubation. It's just a game. It's a Ponzi. But I really wanted to go on Robinhood because of that tokenized stock equation, and then also because there was just a new chain that is really appealing to normies or to stock traders was also compelling, because Coinbase at the end of the day is a crypto company. All the other chains are built by crypto native companies or teams. I think Robinhood was the first that really brought on that TradFi audience, and the Fire movement is a TradFi movement. The Fire strategy in terms of how you implement the traditional finance strategy of Fire is to save, like 60% of your earnings, put it into stocks, hold the stocks, and then hopefully you retire early. I mean, basically spelled out to a T what the Fire protocol does.
For those 2,300 people tuning in live late night on Chain, what's Sandra from Fire? Fire stands for Financial Independence Retire Early, correct?
Yes, that's it. I believe, but just on the subreddits alone, there's millions of people. There's multiple subreddits, but millions of people follow it, and it's one of the largest financial movements in the world. So, in that sense, the surface area of the narrative is huge, and I think that's the biggest selling point for me in terms of like why my conviction is so strong on Fire, is because what we're all looking for is Robinhood to open access to their app to basically all the retail traders. And when they come over to the Robinhood crypto side of things, my thesis is that they're going to be looking for things that are familiar. That could be the Wall Street bets culture stuff, like you have YOLO, you have all these stonks type culture coins. Then you also have Fire, which is more of a like, I would say I'm not really looking as Fire people who follow Fire as the audience of the people who will buy the token, because in a sense they're not really the target market. They're very risk adverse. I mean, they're just trying to like eat lentils and save all their money so they can secure their retirement. But the fact is, it's a very well-known movement, and it's more of a play on the Fire movement, where like, hey, instead of saving all your money for 20 years, why don't you just buy a meme coin and it'll do the exact same thing? So it's more about the actual surface area of the meme itself, rather than trying to onboard the people who are into the Fire movement.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, I think that's the goal Robinhood provides. Obviously, that's the dream scenario where they open up the main Robinhood app and allow the projects building on Robinhood integration. Like even for myself, I just launched Late Night on Chain, the first media coin on Robinhood, and I have my plans overall is to eventually be that one host that just focuses on Robinhood. And retail learns that this is where you go to hear builders like yourself, and then they're going to be like, oh shit, Bill has a creator coin or a media coin, let's explore. So I do feel that opportunity is very incentivizing for builders. Okay, so now let's talk about how, because again, many people understand, okay, cool, financial independence, retire early. I have no idea how to do this. So let's talk about how this system is designed, because as you said, there's a gamification element to it. The longer you hold, the better rewards you get. But in the moment you sell, then you revert back. So talk to us. How does Fire operate?
Sure. So Fire is a V4 hook token. So what that means is it uses V4 hooks on the LP so that it charges you a 1% buy tax, and then it charges you a 3% sell tax. Now, the 3% is assigned to your wallet. So the longer you hold, that 3% decays over time to 1% over a number of days or number of weeks and months, each day though. And then you also build a streak. So every day you hold your tokens, if you don't sell over 50% of your tokens, then you get a greater accumulation of the reward share. So people who hold up to 90 days will cap their limit on how much of the reward shares they own, up to 5 times someone who joins the first day. So it's more of the way that we want to try to incentivize this is not to lock your tokens. In terms of game theory, I believe that that's one of the least bullish ways to do it, because it's been done before. Everyone knows, if you lock the tokens, then you end up in a sort of dilemma where as soon as they unlock, you just want to get rid of those tokens. So this is a way to punish sellers, but also to make it so that holding the tokens is the better choice. Now, overall, I think uh, the the biggest selling point of Fire is just the gamification of holding, because my belief is that holding will be rewarded over time in terms of where we are in the market. Right now, we're still in that sort of gray area where there are things that are happening on chain. You can get rewarded for holding at certain spots, but it's extremely rotational, hyper rotational. And so the way I see it is that holding culture is going to get stronger, but only if projects and coins, memes, fun, protocols are going to reward you for holding. Now, that could be done mechanically, like it's done in Fire, or it can be done just in a meme sense, where if you hold that Chinese bull to $30 million, you're paid off. Now, the opportunities for that to happen, I think, will continue to increase. I think we are somewhere, in a sense, closer to the bottom than we are to anything else. So I think Fire as a long-term game, as a long-term onboarding event for retail, but not retail in the sense of like, okay, this is retail. Hopefully, retail buys this kind of thing. I think the biggest reason that a lot of these coins have done well in terms of the actual mainstream audience is that they can sell something that's extremely simple to the average person. You can see that appeal right now with Kate. So Kate was, went to like $80 million. A lot of crypto Twitter was sidelined, right? And a lot of that came from TikTok, from Instagram, because it was just a very simple pitch for them to understand. But my belief is that because this hasn't been done, this tokenized stock stuff hasn't been done or marketed to the average person, I think this is something that's still very innovative for them. We are stuck in a bubble, right? Tokenized stock meta has been, I would say, played out, or at least played to, it's been played well enough where that most people know what the game is in terms of crypto native traders. But in terms of TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, I don't think it's really even on their consciousness. And so that's our strategy. And that's the strategy of Fire, which is, hey, you get paid for holding. The longer you hold, the more you get paid. And in that sense, I think we are extremely early. I think the price action is not something that I really care about. What I'm looking at is new wallets that are coming in. I'm looking at volume on chain. I'm looking at the campaigns and how well they have performed in terms of onboarding new wallets. So all of this is going to take weeks, months to play out. And all of that just aligns with what Fire is supposed to represent, which is holding longer and just bringing back that culture.
So if I'm holding, and obviously then the RWA rewards are getting dripped to my wallet, do I have to claim? How are those rewards given?
Yep. So they go there once a day. They just show up in your wallet. You don't have to do anything with them. You don't have to claim them. We do have a dashboard where you can see how many tokens you can sell without ruining your breaking your streak. You can see how much dividends you're receiving. You can extrapolate that to see how much you're getting per year. You can see what your share of the pool is. You can check in every day if you want, and those check-ins we're building incentives for. So it's just to show, hey, I'm holding this for 70 days, for 50 days, for 90 days, and it's a way to get the community more engaged. It's a way to really show that holding is rewarded, and that holding is, I would say, just that holding is rewarded, and that your the culture of holding can be brought back from things like this, where you just kind of shift the culture a little bit by bit, each project, doing their own share, but anything to really get away from that scalper mentality. That's the reason that Fire resonated with me so much, is because everything that I see as wrong with the space is the antithesis of what Fire represents.
So, talk to me about your thesis. We're live again, late night on chain with Sandra from Fire. 3,100 people tuning in. Appreciate you all. Talk to me, Ben, about your thesis on RWAs, because the way Fire is set up, it's designed to incentivize people to hold, and you reward in RWAs. As we know, that's dependent on volume. A lot of the RWA projects out there, like Index and all those competitors, or maybe not competitors, the other ones rely heavily on volume for people to get distributed rewards. You need volume coming in, otherwise you get nothing. So obviously, with Fire, you believe the core thesis of tokenized RWAs, assets, and the belief of that, and people will eventually start bidding on those. Where does your conviction lie? Why are tokenized RWAs so interesting to you personally?
Specifically, I just look at the abstraction of all the interfaces that we're using to interact with crypto, right? So you see FOMO, and the way they've really just boiled it down from contract addresses, from 0x, like blockchain dashboards, and all of the things that we used to have to rely on in order to trade crypto has been made as simple as buy with Apple Pay and then sign on with Google, right? The way I see RWAs is bringing that same sort of abstraction of what it means to hold stocks onto a crypto rails. And for that, you just have so many more pools of capital, so many more different segments of the traditional finance world that will be more interested in trying to get exposure to it, just because it's if you can earn fees on the RWAs, if you can build more apps on top of the RWA layers, if you can start building these neobanks, like there's so much potential, or not even potential. I believe a lot of it's already being built out across different chains. Solana's doing some really great stuff with their MetaDAO. Like a lot of companies on MetaDAO are doing really cool stuff for RWA. Like Base is doing RWA. I just think that there's just so many opportunities to build on top of this, where you can get the people who are not really that exposed to crypto to kind of see crypto in a new light, where they can start having more exposure to this entire space. So I think there's just a lot of incentives for not only crypto natives, but for TradFi institutions and for TradFi companies to just try to build on chain, basically.
Yeah, I'm extremely bullish on the narrative of RWAs, especially in the crypto space. First cycle narratives tend to do by far the best. This is the first cycle, and we haven't even reached a bull run. This is the first cycle that RWAs have been introduced. I had Zen on, head of I think global growth or marketing from Coinbase, and they at that time they made a big release about how excited they were about the possibilities. And one of the top things that they said was tokenized assets, because if you think about it, we'll get to a point where people will take these tokenized equities and start buying and lending them, and then you can borrow against it. And then you just create this whole new TradFi on chain. And so obviously Fire is prime position for that. Let me ask you this, Sandra, and we probably have to run things. Talk to me about the TikTok activation, because I do think that's something that is very underutilized by everyone in crypto. Zero people are really utilizing TikTok. I think it's a massive unlock, especially for a project trying to reach the audience that Robinhood has to offer. How are you designing that go-to-market strategy on TikTok? Is it just interesting stories? Is it clipping campaigns? What exactly is the method that you're trying to target?
Yeah, so we're in talks with a couple agencies right now to onboard them. Just trying to decide which ones we want to do. Honestly, from the first point, like I knew that TikTok was going to be a channel that we wanted to focus on, but it was a bit of a learning curve myself. I'm not on there, so I had to get a TikTok quant. Even just starting the Fire channel, it turns out you get shadow banned pretty quickly for crypto related content. So in that sense, having someone that really knows what they're doing, which is a couple of the teams that we're working with now, who are they've built accounts on there, they have a following on there. Our goal with the TikTok campaign is just to simplify it as much as we can. So not really talking as much about the fire movement as much, but more just the mechanics. So because the biggest thing that really compels me to want to hit TikTok is because I still remember very clearly how I was when I first started trading crypto, where even just making money online, where like when you see $5, $10 in your bank account, it just changes the way you look at money online. And so I'm not underestimating the power of seeing people who buy a coin then receive $5 in stocks for holding that coin. So what we've done is we've directed 20% of fees to just drop $5 of a stock for a first-time wallet. This is only eligible one time, but if they hold for 24 hours, they get a $5 stock. It can be NVIDIA or GME, and I think that's extremely powerful because a lot of these tokens who do the stock meta, they give you a proportionate to how much you own. So if you buy $50, you're basically going to get dust, right? And it's not as compelling to say, hey, I got 10 cents, but if I get $5, I put in $50. It is something that really sticks with you. And what we're trying to do with that is to bring that aha moment to TikTok, where you just have people, they look at it, they buy some fire, they see the NVIDIA stocks show up in their wallet, and they're like, oh shit, I just got paid for holding this token. And that is something that hasn't been done before. I haven't seen it, at least on TikTok and on Instagram. Most of it is, hey, check out this meme coin. Maybe I'll go to $1. If it goes to $1, I'll make $10,000. And that's really aspirational. But I think with Fire, I think the mechanics itself is just compelling enough because it pays you in the stock, and it also pays you. It also pays you based on how long you hold, which is completely different than every other protocol, which is the only one, to my knowledge, Fire is the only one doing that. And in that sense, the streak is also going to be used and incentivized. We're going to create great gamification, greater incentives in order to build your streak. So if you have 50 days, 60 days, you can share that as a badge of honor. You can get rewarded based on that. And then having people share that, hey, I've been holding this coin for 60 days. This is what I'm getting in fees. That creates a flywheel because streaks are literally one of the strongest dopamine like reinforcing actions in consumer apps. Like if you look at Strava, you look at Duolingo, you look at Snapchat, the streak is what keeps people coming in every day. They want to do their task, they want to do their they want to keep their streak going. So in that sense, you have one of the simplest pitches and most compelling pitches, I think, in crypto, which is the hold and get stocks. And then you also have a layer of, hey, if you hold, you also get the streak, and if you break the streak, well, that loss aversion is one of the strongest psychological uh, uh, factors in basically the driving behavior and driving that holding culture. And all that together put to TikTok and Instagram, I think is going to be extremely compelling to someone who is interested or crypto adjacent. It might not be interesting to that person who hates crypto, but I think there's enough people who just, I think the sentiment on crypto is so low right now that if you just show them that, hey, there's some cool stuff you can be doing on chain, and they don't even have to know what on chain is, but just to show them what crypto is doing, it could show them that they can make some beer money, some lunch money. I think that is something that is going to be more and more compelling, especially over the next few months, where we see that sentiment start coming back up. We see the volume right now is nothing. It's up a lot from 2 months ago, but like it's nothing in the grand scale of things or the grand scheme of things. And all that together, it just makes me extremely bullish. I'm not looking at the price. I'm not looking at the chart. I'm not looking at where we are today, because I mean I've been bag working this for about 120 days now, and I mean another 100 days, another 100 days. I'm not looking at that. I'm just looking at, hey, what can I do today, and how can we really onboard people one at a time. We've already onboarded 3,400 wallets for the first time receiving a tokenized stock, so it's aligned with Robinhood as well. That's their goal as well, and I just think all of this together, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, no, and I think one of the things that I have to commend you for is your persistence and your hard workingness to literally show up every day, regardless of the chart. I talk to thousands of founders, and one of the key thing that every successful founder, not just the founder, is their ability to push away the price, for instance, and just work and build and get one step closer every single day. It's the same thing with like Elnok. Right now, the
Mhm.
price is sub 100K or whatever. We just launched, had a whatever drop down. I don't care because I know exactly the vision. We get slower and slower. And you've been doing that for way longer than I have. You've been doing it for about 3-4 months. So I applaud you for that, man. And I think that is the type of mentality every dev needs to have for their community to care. And so I want to just say that to you. Sonder, any last words you have for the over 3,400 people tuning in live late night on chain?
Yeah, I think I mean, all of the bag working or just consistency and striving to do something each day, and really focusing on what you can control rather than what the market can, because at the end of the day, the market is going to do what it does. But it's just a representation of my own crypto journey. I mean, I started here 8 years ago, just basically, we're both OGs in this. We've been in this for a long time, and none of the rewards, none of the real uh, lasting effects or results came from short-term wins. All the short-term wins that I had were basically given back within a month or two, and all the long-term, which means the positions that you hold for months out, weeks out, those are the ones that really paid off. And you could say the game has changed, but I think that less of a game has changed sort of paradigm, and more of a bottom of the market sentiment, cyclical representation of where we are in the market. Yeah, there are so many more coins. Yes, I know there's dilution and all of that, but when you have a bull market, even if you don't have like a holistic bull market where everything goes up, the if you're able to pick the spots that have enough demand, enough volume and liquidity, then I would say, just based on the previous bull cycle, right? It, a lot of times, I think the one thing you have to do is being in the right vehicle. This can be true in investing in business, whatever you want. But just being in this specific meta as the RWA stock meta, I think there's enough eyes and attention on this where, even if privacy coins is a bad example, but even if NFTs don't blow off in this bull market, which I actually see, I've seen some cool innovation happening in NFTs recently. So regardless of the category that you're in, if you are able to position yourself in the right category, and then you have a thesis for it, and then you have catalysts in the midterm, long term part of your thesis, I think you just have to really believe in your conviction and just really try to make your trade on a longer timeline. Because if you try to get it chopped up in the day to day, one day you're on Solana, one day you're on Binance Chain. Oh, this, they did the Mars coin. Now base cat is here, and like you're selling your coins and you're trying to transfer, you're rotating. Ansem just launched his launch pad. You're just gonna get rinsed, and that doesn't mean you
Yeah,
shouldn't partake, but it should mean that you should be picking your spots and then taking a very small sliver of that part of your portfolio to play these rotations if that's what you want to do. But otherwise,
100%.
you just hold the coins that you believe will get that tailwind, whether it's from policies, it can be institutional, it can be cultural, whatever it is. You just have to have your thesis, and then you have to follow that, because it's otherwise you're just going to be wandering around like a headless chicken.
That's 100% true, because especially over trading is a thing and there's FOMO involved, like chasing the next shiny object. And dude, I mean, even industry vets like myself, I'm sure you've done it too. Like we fall into that. It's just, and then it's a spiral, because what happens is you try to chase the shiny thing, you're buying the fucking top. And then the thing that you were in eventually ends up pumping, and then you just lost out on that. And it just makes you kind of go crazy. So less is more.
Hmm.
Without a doubt. You have to pick and choose. You can't be in everything. Like
Hmm.
that's, I think, something I always preach to people. You're just not. Like I'm completely sidelined on Ansem stuff, but I respect it. But I'm not going to be chasing his pump launch pad or whatever the hell he's creating. I don't even know much about it. So I think that's really wise advice. And I think, Sandra, I think fire, again, nothing I say is financial advice to the people. They know that. But I think projects like you with devs who are committed, I mean, you literally buy your token every single day publicly, I think are going to be really good. My friend, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me. It was good, good chat as usual.
Absolutely. We'll make sure we have a couple clips made for you. Tomorrow, our team will tag you and all that jazz. So we'll look forward to having more fire content in the coming days and weeks. Appreciate you, man.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care.
All right. That is Sonder from Fire. Yeah, really cool, interesting project. Like I said, RWAs tokenization is the move. I'm very, very bullish on it. Again, it just opens, it's the first meta type mover. And those always tend to do well. It comes with innovation. I think we haven't even scratched the surface of what's possible. So I am looking forward to that. Okay, real quick, let me make sure we have Zips coming up. Let me make sure he's ready. Producer on the show, letting him know. All right. All right, anyways. Looking forward to having Zips when he comes up. He is the developer of BSTONK. I'm looking forward to that, which is another RWA type project. Basically, they are bringing stonks, a fun launch pad with memes paired to tokenized stocks, paying those tokenized stocks on base. So they're very new, and we look forward to having him on. While we wait for him, though, let's just chat real quick about LNOC. And I think LNOC is something people might be wondering, what are we doing? We're going to make sure we have clips. Again, LNOC's attached to the first ever media coin on Robinhood. So it's not just like, hey, it's Bill's coin. This is a media coin project. And there's very multiple verticals at play. The core thinking of LNOC, first media coin on Robinhood, is specifically that in the case of traditional media, there's the traditional way of doing things is brand approaches creator and brand work together for a deal. The audience are left out. All they get are vibes and like entertainment. That is the method that's been done for hundreds of years, and it's a locked system. The goal of LNOC is to completely change the dynamic. And instead of leaving the fan, the audience away from the deal, what if you integrate them? What if you allow them the ability to capture upside with the creator in tandem? That creates brand evangelists all around the world. What happens when you have brand evangelists all around the world supporting your show beyond just mere fan? Well, they propel your brand as a creator to unfathomable heights because they're incentivized to see you grow, because if you grow, then they grow with you. So you have active participation. And then from a brand's point of view, if you tap into brand evangelists for this guest, then you are getting more ROI for your money, because now you're not just relying on the creator to kind of push the word out there. You're now having a creator and his or her army activated, pushing your project or your company to heights that won't be seen. So it's a three-wheel flywheel. Brand, creator, fan get together. That's what Late Night On-Chain LNOC token is going to do. We're going to be utilizing this kind of function. And it doesn't just start with me. So projects that want to come on my show, projects that want to get exposure, projects that want me to help talk, because again, at the end of the day, distribution is key. That is the moat. Creating a show, not easy. Been doing this for a long time. You can try to create your show, very hard. Look at what Ansom's doing. He's taken this entire model and he's creating his own like platform. And it's a similar thing. If you want access to Ansom, his team, his distribution network, you have to buy Ansom off the market a substantial amount to enter a tier. It's the same type of thing where we're not necessarily making you buy a certain tier, but say you're a project you want to get launched off the ground. All right, instead of trying to pay me to help, whatever, what if you then deposit tokens into our vault over on Pantheon? In order to get access to this vault, you have to have Late Night On-Chain to stake it, which takes away supply pressure. And now you're feeding into this vault. Whoever staked are now going to become your biggest supporters because they are getting an incentive to do so. So that's what Late Night On-Chain does on that side of things. We'll be also creating this whole media platform, which is kind of distribution of sponsored placements, network opportunities, whatever. If you're guest interviews, imagine you want to get on and some show, for instance. Well, what if there was a site that allows you to see what's available, how much it's going to cost? That's a decentralized media network. LNOC's the currency there. So we're going to be experimenting with all sorts of things when it comes to media and how it's done and changing the dynamic. So I'm very excited for that. Very excited for that. And again, I'm not saying buy or whatever, but one thing I will say is I'm very dedicated to seeing this grow because I feel it's $1 trillion plus industry ready for disruption. And the token is the way for the attention to come there. So that being said, let us wait. We will wait real quick for Zips, and we'll just wait. So hang on. All right, we are getting back there live, late night on chain. Bill, 3,400 plus people tuning in, and we are just joined. Who just entered the room? Zips with BSTONK. How are you doing today, sir?
Hello, Bill. Yeah, I'm good today. How about yourself?
I am fantastic. I'm fantastic. I need a haircut because I have not been able to because I've been locked in on the trenches, sir. And one of the projects that literally I'm very excited about is BSTONKs, and you are the lead developer. Talk to us, man. What exactly are we doing with BSTONKs?
So, BSTONK is the platform mascot for BSTONK.io. Basically, BSTONK.io is like the leading launchpad on Base for the upcoming slash current RWA meta. So, currently, Coinbase is adding LP to RWA-backed tokens on their mainnet. And we're allowing you to go ahead and launch with these RWA-backed tokens on the platform. At the moment, we support, I believe, up like currently 5 live RWA tokens. We do support the entire universe of RWA pairs. However, across the entire universe, only about 5 right now have any actual official liquidity. There is also people trying to build fake liquidity, so that's something to be aware of. And the platform does protect you from that, unlike other platforms where people have launched rugs, fortunately. But we also go ahead and I've provided alternative options for certain pairs where, for example, the ST0X wrapper has liquidity. So there's wrapped variants that if you want to have a live tradable pair now, you can do through the wrapper variant, or you can go ahead and launch a true B20 pair, sorry. But it being tradable is contingent on the LP being added. So if you launched now, you wouldn't necessarily be able to trade, but as soon as LP is added, you're then immediately tradable.
One of the things there's a lot. Like I said, I'm a big bull. I'm a big bull on BSTONK, and I'm excited to have you on. So let's start with the core premise. BSTONK is very similar to Stonk on Solana, correct? And if I recall, Stonk on Solana did hit about 15 million. Now it's whatever, down to 5. But it's shown an appetite. Did you guys kind of get inspiration when building BSTONK? Did you get inspiration from the Stonk version on Solana?
Yeah, I'd say that's the primary inspiration. There was also Pons on Robinhood. So basically, the RWA platforms and the RWA meta on other chains inspired BSTONK.
Yeah, and I think that's great because it's shown product market fit. See, sometimes on the show or just founders in general, that's another reason why I like this, because they come up with a great idea, but there's never been product market fit across every chain. And they've never done it before. So it's truly an experiment. I believe, this is my thesis, if you find something that has been done before on a different chain and you primarily focus it on a new chain and you're the first, there's product market fit because it's been done before. People have seen it. And on Base traders do not interact with Solana traders. It just doesn't work. It's just completely different things. Base is its own ecosystem. So
different universe.
You agree, right? So I feel like if it's done something well on Solana, it'll be good there. What is it about, I guess, Stonk on Solana, and which is now what BSTONK's going to be? What is it about that project and what you guys are building with BSTONK that you think is very retail friendly, that you think is something that is, and the proof is in the pudding. You guys have had about 280 launches within like a day. What is it about pairing a token or a project or meme or whatever to a RWA, paying out in that RWA? What is it about that you think is getting the interest from others?
So I would say the thesis is the same, or let's say similar to 2021. I don't know if you remember the BSC meta and the ETH meta from
Bro, I faded
2021.
all. I failed all.
Yeah.
I faded it, bro. I'm sorry. I'm a
Yeah.
fucking
I mean, that's basically where I entered. I mean, I entered at the end, so I also missed the entire like actual crazy 100x, 1000x pump period of time. I came like at the very end, right? But the thesis is essentially the same as that. Principally, people wanted BNB, they wanted ETH, they wanted these primary tokens, right? And when they're holding these primary tokens, these chain native tokens like BNB and ETH, they think, okay, well, my money's not really working for me. I'm invested in what I want to be invested in. So essentially, I want BNB, I want ETH, I'm invested in them. But at the same time, I want my money to work for me. So I want my ETH to become more ETH if possible. I want to accumulate, right? Right now, we're seeing that people want to accumulate RWAs. RWAs themselves are retail friendly. We have the highest level of volume in the markets from retail, like of all time, right? So RWAs are what people want to accumulate. They want to hold RWAs in essence, right? People want to buy semiconductor stocks like Intel, SanDisk, Micron, Samsung, etc. The list goes on. So principally, what we're offering is the ability for you to take an RWA your RWA ownership and say, cool. Now I'm going to take this holdings that I have and try and accumulate more. And the way to do that speculate on memes, other tokens, tech narratives, etc., with your RWAs. And the benefit that we can provide is we offer tokenomics that allow you to then scale your RWA holdings further, such as the dividend yield.
So with the dividend yield, for those that might not be aware, you hold a token, you hold a project, and it pays you in that RWA, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So with the BSTONK, I have fully customizable tokenomics that you can go ahead and see. So if you go to the create page on BSTONK, there's two options. You can either do a simple launch or an advanced launch. Just FYI, I'll just put some alpha out there. I am currently deploying a V3 launcher. We're currently on V2, but I'll be launching a V3 launcher with slightly more features and more RWA pairs being offered. The V3 launcher will basically just be more scalable for the future.
Does it affect current tokens launched on V2?
No, not at all. The V2 tokens are all good. They're perfectly fine. But I will put a tag so you'll be able to see which tokens are V2, which ones are V3. But they make no difference. They're basically principally the same. It's just I have some tweaks that I've made to some of the code. I've got some more edge cases I've refined out. Scenarios that wouldn't necessarily happen on V2, but I like to iterate on my products and make sure that what we're presenting to the market at this time is the best it can be at this time.
Amazing. And so right now, for those that are tuning in, we have about 3,500 plus. We're actually going to put this episode on Spotify too, because as a podcast, because I feel this project's very, very new, novel, and I want more people outside of crypto to know about it. So if you are listening to this on Spotify when we do, head over to YouTube. YouTube will also be here, and you can see what we're showing right now. We're showing the live up picture of the website. So, okay, first of all, and I want to get into your background too, because you're a brilliant dev, and I think that's understated how much respect you have in this space. But let's look at this website. All right, price it your way, any stock, USDC, ETH, BTC, one transaction, first block, and a pool. Nobody can pull, base only. What really strikes me, man, is this top 6.2 million total volume, 24-hour volume, 1.7 million, 283 tokens. I repeat, random people have launched 283 tokens, 54,000 trades in, I don't know, you launched Sunday night or whatever, like 24, 36 hours ago. Why do you think so many people have started to use this at such a small stage? Do you think people are wanting something to do again on base? Do you think base has been so dead for so long that when a new infrastructure project comes in, they're excited? What is it about BSTONK right now that you think is the reason you're capturing so much interest in such a short period of time?
I think people like to follow the latest trends and the latest metas. In this scenario, Base has just come out with these RWAs, whereas other chains have been way further ahead. And so they're able to capture some mind share from the RWA space. And that's why you're seeing an influx of people back to Base, because here's the thing, EVM is very circular. I would say the only exception to that is Ethereum itself. There are some diehard people that are just stuck on Ethereum and will only trade on Ethereum. But the other EVM chains, we're talking about BSC, we're talking about Base, we're talking about Robinhood. These chains are very circular. People rotate between them. So you would have seen a mass exodus of people going into Robinhood from Base. And those people would then just rotate profits back into Base now that it's acquiring more mindshare due to the RWA narrative. For me personally, I believe that 2026 is a year of mindshare. You mentioned PMF before, product market fit. Well, I think there's three key things for any product owner, project owner, etc. There's three key things to keep in mind before you go ahead and you do something. First is PMF, product market fit. The next one is GTM, go to market, and the third one is mindshare. If you have nailed all three of those things, you will have a successful product. There's no question about it. And in this case, Base has all of those.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, I think what strikes me with this is the perfect type of project for Base's overall directional growth, right? And I know a lot of people are like looking at this base cat thing. I'm sidelined. I bought the top. I lost, whatever. And people are like, oh, memes are going to go. But, and that's fine. But I specifically think, and again, this is just my opinion, it could be wrong. Base is overall narrative, its overall positioning and where they want to grow and help push are not memes. in my opinion, what they want to do is infrastructure RWA plays that provide value in that sector, which is perfectly aligned with what BSTONK's doing because it's an RWA play, tokenizing, different type of, have meme capabilities, but at the end of the day, you're rewarding in a sort of RWA asset, a stock asset. This is the type of thing that I think Coinbase can be to their shareholders. Hey, look at how much RWA volume we've gotten. And based on projects like yours, this is what you're doing. You're distributing RWAs with the fees that are generated. Not only are the fees generated used to buy the RWAs off the market and distribute it, but it also buys and burns, I believe, the actual BSTONK token. Elaborate on that.
Yeah, so that's a great point. So as with all good crypto projects, flywheel mechanisms exist to try and keep up and prop up the main token. So we have a dual flywheel mechanism. The first phase of the flywheel mechanism is that the tokenomics of BSTONK itself are set 50-50 in a way that 50% is used for buyback and burns, which are automatic, and the other 50% are used to airdrop holders dividends. You receive yield from BSTONK in USDC as it's paired with USDC. Actually, Bill, you advised when I spoke to you beforehand that USDC is stable in all market conditions, and therefore it's best that that would be what we go for with BSTONK. So your advice there was, I would say, is pretty on the ball. It basically becomes market agnostic, so you don't have to worry about the overall market conditions as much for price action. You can just rely on sentiment and organic volume, which is pretty good. Now, the second phase of the flywheel mechanism is platform wide. So as with all launchpad platforms, the platform generates fees. These fees come from when people launch tokens, they have a tax on the token. By default, it's about 1% and 1% on each side. Well, it's not about, it's exactly 1% and 1% on each side. Now, with that, there's a split that goes to the platform. And from that split, I take all token fees provided and use them to buy back and burn the primary token, which is BSTONK, which adds a second layer to the flywheel. So the more launches and more volume on base stonk in general, the higher BSTONK goes itself. So as the launchpad acquires more mindshare, more growth, and more launches, BSTONK will continue to pump.
It's truly a fascinating model, right? Because a lot of people launch tokens and you're still kind of speculating, right? Hey, this is going to be, but if you notice the ones that really pop, the pawns of the world, even the stonk on Solana of the world, the underlying tokenomics are geared to buy that token. The underlying and to allow it to other projects that the game plan's simple. Build a platform. Other projects can build on top of it for their own projects. Pawns, for instance, on Robinhood, stonks on Solana. Projects launch, then a portion of those fees are used to buy back the underlying protocol token. So you're betting on the success. More launches, the better it is for the underlying protocol token. You guys are absolutely on the tee with what you're doing here. Because at the end of the day, the more the projects utilize this platform, the more BSTONK's going to be acquired off the market and burned, making it deflationary. So it's just, and then as you said, the fees that you are taking in are going to be used as well to buy more BSTONK. So I think it's a brilliant play. I think that's the right model. Now, let me ask you this, because I think it's important, Zips. Your reputation is stellar. I think I was actually shocked at how well regarded you were. I'll admit I was unfamiliar with your game, and I don't know how, but I was. And then the more I researched you and hear what people said, I mean, your reputation is stellar. Talk to me about your experience in crypto. Have you been a developer? I know you said the tail end of 2021, 2022 you got in, but why is building projects so interesting and important to you?
So I feel like in all markets, there's always a vacuum for people that do the right thing. And in the majority of markets, most people are bad actors. So I feel the need in certain market conditions to step in and offer something of technical value that fills that vacuum. In this case, launchpad platform where there isn't any bullshit farming, for example. Like I'm really anti-farming. I really hate people that farm charts. So my policy as a developer, and for those who've known me for the long term, obviously I have a KOL channel on Telegram, and I have like almost 2,000 subscribers in there now. That's purely organic because I used to do calls during the virtuals meta in 2025. So everyone who knows me for the long term knows that I don't do any of that BS. It does mean that there isn't as much stability at the beginning with charts, because when you have supply control as a developer, the chart is usually more stable. It just means that the developer holds a lot of supply. So there's only so much supply on the free market that anyone else can buy. Now, in my case, I don't really do that. I try to buy as much as I can and then burn it, but that I do leave a lot on the table for people in the open market to go and get. Because I do believe in order for something to be successful, people do need to profit, and the right people need to see your chart and the opportunity that your chart provides. So I believe that it can be a double-edged sword, but it usually works in your favor if you operate that way. And in terms of my reputation and project development, so obviously, yes, I started in 2021, the tail end, as you mentioned. I started off as an investor in crypto, and then I had a friend that needed a technical issue resolved. And at that time, I was a non-technical person. However, I helped someone with a spreadsheet. And from there, apparently, they thought I could code smart contracts. And I said I could, even though I couldn't. And I gave an unrealistic timeline, but then I delivered. So from then, I became a developer, and I've been a developer since. My niche has always been in this market. Uh, I'm I'm here to save people. That's been my niche. I've done things third party, so people I've commissioned either dApps, smart contracts, other technical things from me, and my role is you're at the very last second of your deadline. You've done nothing, so you can come to me, and I'll make sure it looks great, it works, it's amazing, passes all your audits, and gets you what you needed. So that's really been my role in the market.
It's refreshing, man. It's refreshing to see somebody who wants to do things the right way. It's funny, man. In crypto, the bar is really fucking low, dude. For honest builders, the bar is super low because there's so many nefarious actors that that just want to farm, that just want to fleece and farm. And so, to no surprise, now that I've gotten to know you, the moment that you on X said, "Hey, I'm behind this project," and the charges went to the moon. I think we hit like 2 million or something. It makes sense because it's very rare to find somebody with a reputation, and it seems like your reputation is very important to you. You do things the right way, similar to my mindset of trying to do the right things in the media game. So what's next? What's next, Zips? Obviously, this platform is insane. I'm so bullish on it. I feel that, again, guys, nothing I say is financial advice, but I actually feel after speaking to you, I want to buy more because I have a lot of faith in the direction. What's next for BSTONKs? What is the focus going forward while we get this off the ground?
So I'd say the focus for the short term will be driving more growth into the platform, offering more RWA pairs, helping onboard new developers and users to launch onto the platform. I've already commissioned a BD role to a trusted friend, and they will be going through and helping people on board and get things launched, advising on tokenomics, advising on tech. Tech is key. I believe if we have a few launches that have good tech behind it, that can really help with visibility. And I will be focusing extremely importantly on mindshare. So I really want to get, maximize as much mindshare as we can possibly get. The socials, the Telegram, pretty much wherever you guys go, you will see us. That is the goal. And then on my end, I 24/7 refine tech. So there's not a moment that goes that I'm not building something new or refining a system or increasing the capabilities of our launch system in general to compete with the platforms across the market. Just a point to make, I have seen a bunch of launch pads go up in the last 24 to 48 hours. And of those launch pads that went up, 4 of them are at 0, and the 5th one is us. So, like, we're definitely doing something correct, I'd say, especially compared with those guys, and we'll continue to keep doing the correct thing.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, I'm full on believer in BSTONK. I'm a full on, and the reason why, yeah, the project's cool and I think it's great. I think it's emulating stonks, but to be honest with you, the reason why I'm even more bullish is because I've gotten to know you and I believe in your work ethic. I believe you need to sleep more, bro. I think you work a lot. You should probably make sure you get some sleep, dude. We got to make sure you're not working all the time. But I appreciate you, man, and I'm excited to see you grow. I'm going to be one of your biggest supporters publicly. And yeah, I think this is a very important project for base in general to get more interest back on chain, as many people have left and felt, discouraged. I think a project like this, true grassroots community growth, not backed by VCs, I think is very much needed. And I think it's going to spark a revival on base. So my friend, thank you for coming on the show. We'll have a few clips for you made. Shout out to Nick as well. I want to get him on, but yeah, dude, thank you for coming on, and we'll speak soon.
Dude, thank you for the time. I love the questions. You're a great host.
Thank you, man. As you can see, I have a lot of gray hair. I've been doing this for a while. It's gotten me gray, but I guess experiences help me. But yeah, man, we'll chat soon. Appreciate you, man. Cheers.
All right, chat soon.
All right, that's Zips from BSTONK. Listen, guys, I interviewed tons of people, and you just have that feeling about, damn, like this is gonna be big. I said that with Motion. The Motion team, the Motion dev, I really like the Motion dev. And what happened was he came on my show, 600K market cap, exploded about 12 million within a week. I could just tell founders that just have that special sauce. I think we just found another one. I think the BSTONK dev, top tier. I wouldn't be surprised to see BSTONK fucking go parabolic. My opinion. Anyways, guys, appreciate each and every one of you. We ran things a little bit over. All good. We are back on tomorrow, noon PST. As always, like it, share it, whatever. But I do appreciate you guys for tuning on. Till next time. Cheers.